Okay. So I'll go through intern eligibility. I do this every time, so you might be aware of the eligibility already, but I just need to make sure it's covered. I'll go through the stint timeline and the learning objectives, and some of the things to be aware of when you're looking at our hosts page, and of course, their CV application information that you'll require in order to submit the best application as possible, and some other things to consider before you submit your application for the 2025 internships. Okay, so this is our team. I'm Caprice. I'm here. I'm the operations and communications coordinator. You've probably heard of Angela, who is our national program manager. Ailish is our director of the program. And we have two industry liaisons, Jennifer McKenna and Shalini Hilogam. Those two individuals are our partners and hosts who support the program, and David Farrell is the person who manages all of the hosts at STInt. Hello to those who have just joined us. We're just getting started. If you have any questions or concerns, you can place them in the chat, and just be aware that today's session is recorded. Okay, so you're probably all familiar with what STInt is and its purpose, but just to do a quick recap, the mission of STInt is to inspire innovative learning by collaborating between academia, research, and industry. And you, as teachers, are the linchpin that connects all three. So the opportunity to do an internship in industry is really an opportunity to grow as a teacher, to be able to use your practical skills that you probably only used a few times in university or college, and to use them in the lab, or to use your research skills and knowledge, and to really learn what type of knowledge is needed in order to be successful in industry. You're also practicing communication and learning more about the real roles that are offered in industry. Sometimes it can be hard to think about the variety of careers that are available to us, so that you being in industry is giving you the opportunity to network, to engage with people in industry, and to really immerse yourself and learn what it's all about. So when you return to the classroom, you'll be able to better support your students if they have questions about careers in STEM. You can better support them if they have STEM interests. For example, robotics, we run a robotics workshop so that you can get your students involved in First Lego League. And we also want to ensure that you're able to provide practical and real world applications to your STEM curricula and make it more interesting as well. Using your stories and what you learn from the STEM industry can be remarkable for increasing not only your own, but your pupils' interest and knowledge of what is available to them. And hopefully they pursue a STEM career in the future. Okay, so I'm going to jump right into our eligibility. If you're from DCU, we have a few courses from the Bachelor of Science, that's Science and Mathematics, Physical Education with Biology and Mathematics, and then 2 in Technology. This is the new one here. So if you're in Bachelor of Education with Technology, Engineering and Graphics, then you're eligible. And then, of course, we have our Bachelor of Education in Primary with a STEM specialism as well. We have our 2 master's degrees. DCU is the only one with a master's degree in primary level, and then we have our typical professional masters of education. At UCC, we have 1 Bachelor of Science degree in education, and then 2 Bachelor of Education degrees. This name has also recently changed, so please be aware. It's Bachelor of Education in Physical Education, Sports Studies, and Arts, with a specialism in mathematics. And then we have education in Gaelic with mathematics as well. And of course, your master's in education. And for University of Limerick, we have plenty of programs from here. I'm not going to go through them all. We have 1 from Bachelor of Arts. We have several from the Bachelor of Science, all concurrent with teacher education and a specialism in a STEM subject. And then we have 2 that are in Bachelor of Technology, one with graphics and technology, and another with graphics and construction. So that's also a very new one. The name has changed. And I like to highlight that program because we do have industry connections in construction. We now have John Sisk. So if you are in a construction program, you would likely be matched with John Sisk. If you're curious about what took place or what is an option for you if you do work at John Sisk, you can look at Brona Brennan. She's a 2024 intern. She has a YouTube video up, so you can look and see what her experience was like. And of course, we have our master's, pardon me, Masters of Education programs. These programs have also changed. So if you're at University of Limerick, and you're in a master's studies, the eligible programs are now in mathematics, science, and technological education. If you graduated prior to this year and you have a just generic Master of Education, you are still eligible up to 5 years after, up to 5 years from the internship period. So it'd be up until 2020. Okay. For individuals at the University of Galway, we have our 2 Bachelor of Arts programs in Mathematics and Education, and we have another Bachelor of Arts program in Education with Computer Science. For the Professional Masters of Education, of course, we have our generic program and the Gaelic version as well. For UCD, so UCD is an interesting school because they have a joint Bachelor of Science and Bachelor of Science and Masters of Science programs, specifically for the education specialism. So if you are in either of those programs with education and a STEM specialism as well, then you are eligible, regardless of the year that you are currently in. And then if you are a master's of education with the STEM specialism, specifically the PME, you're also eligible for the program. For Maynooth University students, we have the 2 Bachelor of Science programs in Mathematics and Computer Science, and another with just Mathematics, and then the Bachelor of Science program with Education. And of course, we have our PME program as well. And finally, our Trinity College Dublin students, the only program that's eligible is the PME. We'll now move on to the timeline here. So this timeline has changed when compared to previous years. That's because we're trying to get as many applications in as possible. So we're now in November, and that's when you'd be doing the online sessions and virtual sessions with us. We try to be at each campus as much as possible, but of course it just is variable depending on the placements that you guys do and flexibility for doing tabling and whatnot as well. So I'm glad to see you guys here. And in December, you should prepare your CV. Well, up until December, you should prepare your CV and get a suitable headshot. And I'll talk more about that later. And our applications will open in December 2nd. In January, our applications will close. So just to let you know, we have our first round of applications, which will be from December 2nd to January 3rd. So long as you apply within that time period, you'd be considered the first round of applicants. You'll have an interview with our STInt team in February. We have our meet and greet in March. And the meet and greet is an opportunity to meet your matched host company. And the 2 of you would be able to discuss what is upcoming for the summer, some things to be aware of, and perhaps onboarding as well. In April, you'll make sure you have your contract with it, which is specifically with the host company, and you'll be able to complete onboarding tasks. In May, you do some more training with the STInt team, and we prepare you for the summer. In June, your internships would begin. In July, you'll have our in-person reflection period, our mid-internship reflection, which typically takes place at Microsoft, which is a lot of fun. We have our Microsoft Dream Space Day, and it's great to discuss your internships with your peers and also just go through the STInt learning and objectives as well. In August, you complete your STInt internship and you also complete the video that's required. In September, we have our graduation. Okay, so like I mentioned earlier, the first round of applications open in December 2nd. If we need more applications or we aren't able to fill all the roles depending on the quality of applications or perhaps just like location and matching interns to the appropriate company, then we'll reopen our applications at the end of January. And you should receive notification of that reopening of applications when the time comes. In the meantime, make sure you have a professional headshot. Once you complete the application, you'll receive a confirmation of your application. All appropriate candidates will be called for an interview, and successful candidates will be matched with a host company. Please be aware that although you submit an application, it doesn't confirm that you'll actually get a STInt internship. Okay, so our learning and objectives. So all of our learning and objectives are actually on our website, and I'll just pull it up here. So this is our homepage, and our STInt learning is here. And to be quite honest, it's the same every year. And it's all listed here. And that just makes sure that ensures that our STInt badge is valid and it meets a specific criteria. So if you're looking for details, you can look at our website. But I'll bring us back to the presentation. So the first element of the learning is the professional application, and that's the application that you'll be submitting in December, ideally, and the interview that you do. The obvious piece, again, is the host, internship with the host during the summer. It has to be between 8 and 12 weeks long. The reflection points. So we'll have opportunities for reflection, and this is also incorporated into our director research papers that they complete. So it is required, and each reflection period will take place after you're matched with the host. So the first reflection is at our meet and greet. Of course, we have our mid-internship reflection, and then a final reflection at the end of your internship. And the biggest piece and the most interesting piece, to be quite honest, is the STInt video. So if you're interested in learning more about the STInt video, what is required of you, and what your capabilities are, you can take a look at our website and you can go through all of our interns. The video that they've completed and submitted with us should be underneath their description, or you can go directly to our YouTube channel. Once all elements are completed, then you'll be able to earn a STInt badge. And the STInt badge is a micro-credential, and it can be shared online. It can be shared on your certificate, your graduation certificate. If you've already graduated, then it would simply be the micro-credential. And it just validates your experience, validates that you've completed a curriculum, essentially, a set list of objectives, and you managed to complete each of them. And you've also learned from the experiences, professional development. Okay, so when you're considering the hosts, this is an interesting piece of the program because we are asking you as teachers to apply to STInt and be open to being matched to any of these companies here. We do our absolute best to match the teacher specialism to the host company. So if you are a teacher who's studied biology and is teaching biology, we'll do our best to match you with a company that's focused in life sciences, in pharmaceuticals, in biological research. And that is really just dependent on the number of applications that we get, when we receive your applications, and if you are in the same region as that company as well. So these are all of the companies that are currently working with STInt, and we have a few more who have joined us this year as well. So they're not on this list yet, but you'll see them up on our website soon. I suggest going to each of the host website pages, excuse me, and you'll see a description from that host company and the intern role as well. Oops. Our host locations are across the country. This is a national program, so we're doing our absolute best to meet the needs from all over the country. This did start initially as a DCU-led program. So as you'll see, most of our hosts are in Dublin, but we still have quite a few in Cork, in Galway, in Westmeath, and we also have repeat names you'll see here. So in Limerick, we have Analog Devices, and again in Cork, we also have analog devices. So oftentimes there's an opportunity to get multiple interns in the same company, but they just are located in different areas. And if it's not specified on our host page, you can still apply and we'll do our absolute best to get you matched to a different area in the country under the same company name. Another good thing about this is if you are at a company, let's say Amber, it's only based in Dublin, but there's multiple roles that are offered at that single company. 3 people are doing internships at Amber, just as an example. And it's always nice to be working with another STInt intern because, as you're probably aware, you're kind of thrown into the deep end working in industry as teachers. And it can be nice to have a counterpart to be able to go through some of the challenges together. There are buddy programs that each of these host companies are required to open up to you as temporary workers and interns at their company. So there'll always be support, whether that be through a buddy program or an additional support system like the mentorship programs that are also offered over the summer at these host companies. Okay, so this is an example of what our host pages look like. I used Amber as the example here, so they have a good description and the intern role. Like I mentioned before, we do our absolute best to do like ideal matches, but they're not always perfect. Be prepared to work in person every day. And keep an open mind if we're not able to do a perfect match. There's always opportunity and room for growth. And so if the match isn't perfect, but there's still some crossover within your knowledge and your ability to excel in the host company, then of course, like why not take on the role within the period between matching with the host company and actually beginning your internship is about 2.5 months. So you'll be able to discuss your concerns with the host company with us, and we'll mediate in between as well. And we'll make sure that the role and the tasks meet the host needs and also meet your own needs. Another thing I wanted to add here is you'll see, sorry, this is our website again here. I've added a disclaimer here. So our intern roles are typically published in autumn, but there's quite a bit of time before your internships actually begin. And our intern roles can change. They can be modified depending on what's happening at that company. A lot of times companies take their time to submit a valid and an ideal intern role description because they're not quite certain what will happen and if there will be changes by the time summer rolls around. So do please still apply, even if you don't feel like some of the host companies are a perfect match to your own capabilities, because things can change. Okay, so you realize that you still want to move forward with the application. That's great. What is needed? You'll need the CV and your photo. We do need your CV to include your academic history with grades, please. We will need there we go. And we will need a CV that is tailored to the STInt applications as well. You'll need to be aware of our host locations, the roles that are offered at that company as well. And please make sure that you are aware of the objectives of the STInt program, the purpose of the STInt program. Really think about why you're interested in the program and what you want to bring back to the classroom. Okay, so for your resume, please do not include your exact address. We only need your city or your town and your county, okay? And please be aware that your CV, not your full application, only your CV, will be shared with our host company if you do a great job in our interviews, and we are considering you for matching to a host company, okay? So it should be tailored to STInt, but is open to any STEM company that we could give this to. Please do not include your birthday. We don't need to know your age. Please do not include your photo on your CV or resume. We will require a photo submitted in your application. That'll be a different element that will be in the application itself, but we don't need your photo on your actual CV. We do ask that you apply using a non-academic email, and that non-academic email can also be included on your CV. We would like to see a phone number, ideally a mobile phone number on your application as well. And that just ensures that if we are not able to reach you by email, we can still call you and make sure that we can do an interview or the host company can contact you. And feel free to add your LinkedIn page as well. STInt often uses LinkedIn to connect with our hosts and with other teachers. So feel free to add it. Your personal statement. So this can be a little bit confusing for some people. Typically, it is a 1 to 2 sentences that's added at the very beginning of your CV or your resume that indicates what you're seeking and highlights your key skills. So you can include your level of education, like I mentioned, your strongest skills, your interest area, and an example. I'm going back to the Bachelor of Science example. An example could be a passionate young professional with a Bachelor of Science degree in science education or science communication and over 2 years of experience teaching second level biology in Dublin, now seeking an internship with STEM teacher internship program. Of course, that's a run-on sentence, so perhaps that would need to be fixed. But that's just giving you an example of what a personal statement should look like. No longer than 2 sentences. And if you're not able to fit a personal statement in, that's also okay. It's just highly suggested. For education and qualifications, we would require any of your 3rd level academic information. So we have your name of your institute, for example, the University of Limerick, the name of the program with the specialism, please. An example would be the Bachelor of Arts in Mathematics and in Education. Your year of completion, if you're still a student, then it would be the expected end date, or your expected graduation date. Any academic awards, throw those in, but we definitely need your GPA or your letter grade or your grades in general. We don't need your grades for a specific course, just your overall GPA for your program of the current year as well, please. Okay, so for the relevant work experience, before I get started here, do we have any questions? No questions? Okay. This piece can be a little bit tricky. We do not expect anyone to have work experience to be eligible for the program. It's nice to have work experience, of course, but it's not required. And if you're someone who is perhaps doing a PME and you had previous industry experience, that doesn't make you ineligible. Would perhaps give you a leg up when you are eventually in industry again over the summer. Okay, so when you are listing your work experience, we of course need the name, the location of your employer, your job title, your start and end dates. Please be concise with your job description and highlight your transferable skills. Like I mentioned, it should be relevant work experience, but like, transferable skills are what are needed, especially given that you're working in industry, can be doing the variety of roles in industry. I see a question here. Can work experience just be teaching experience if you're currently? Yes, yes. So I'm actually getting to that now as well. If you are a student teacher, please do the same thing as above, but we need your school name, your location, the grade level that you taught, and of course the subject, and clearly indicate that you are a student teacher. If you've graduated already, and you're an in-service teacher, you can clearly indicate in your work experience that you are a in-service teacher. You're permanent, you're temporary, you're filling in for another teacher. And that just helps us as well, just to make sure that there's a distinguishing between pre-service and early career. Um, if you're not going to be placed differently depending on if you're pre-service or early career, but it helps us when we're matching because, of course, if you're a teacher, we can't put you in government programs, and we don't want to make that mistake. So just clearly indicate if you are early career or pre-service. Apologies if I repeated myself a few times there. Okay, and if you don't have any work experience, like I mentioned, that's fine. You can highlight your third level projects, any academic or professional accomplishments, and even your volunteer work. And you can follow a similar process as I mentioned earlier. We need the name and the location of the project or the accomplishment or the volunteer opportunity, your role or your title, when you started and ended that work, and a concise description of your activities. And of course, highlight your transferable skills, please. Now, after your all of the relevant information, all of your personal statement, your academics, and your work experience, you can add a bit more. I definitely suggest including a list of your skills. You can include your interests if you'd like, and if it's relevant to the STInt program. But please do include at least 4 or 5 skills that really summarize you as an educator and perhaps an intern in STEM industry. So you can tailor those skills to the roles that you are most interested in, and you can and please highlight the transferable skills as well. I keep saying that, but it's really, really important. Um, and your interests can be different from anything else that you included on your on your CV. It can show a bit of personality, and it can help us place you to different companies depending on even the people who are going to be working with you over the summers as well. So there you can show a bit more more of who you are. Okay, general tips. Please be mindful of the format and your grammar. The CV or resume should be no longer than 2 pages. And we will only accept PDF versions of the CV as well. If you're uncertain about your application, please share it with your friends and family. You can also go to career services at your university. Even if you've graduated, you can still connect with career services. They actually kind of like that, just knowing that their students or their alumni at that point are successful and are making their way in industry. Okay. So when it comes to your headshot, these are previous years students, so I'm not trying to put anyone out using previous students in this example, but I just need something to show you guys. What we're looking for is a blank background, ideally textureless background, either black or white, or kind of beige that Nicole has here. We need only your shoulders upwards, or it can be upper chest to your head. We need you to be facing straight, and you can smile if you like, that's no problem. But we just need a neutral face. Hopefully, you're able to meet that criteria pretty easily. I found that if you're struggling to find an appropriate background, or you don't have time to have someone take a photo of you, that's perfectly fine. You can simply set up um, a, a space for you to um, take a picture on Zoom. So you can open up your own meeting. You can put the background to white if you'd like, and you can just take a photo of yourself. I find that to be the easiest way to do it. We do not require headshots that are at passport level quality. You don't need to pay for headshot. Please do not. Please do not pay for a headshot. We only need it in order to move forward for our website intern pages. Um, and that's it. That's it. We're not going to be sharing the headshot with our hosts, and it won't be a consideration for interviews or for matching either. Please avoid cropping pieces of your body and face out of existing photos. If you're running behind, please avoid taking a photo in your car, um, unless you have a great background in your car, of course. And just make sure that you are dressed appropriately as well in your photo. Okay, so the final piece to consider is your interest in STInt. So there is an element of the application that will ask more about you, your interests, what is most interesting about STInt to you, what are some things that you'd like to learn from the program, and your goals in the future. So some people can be stuck on that question, pardon me, and they're not quite sure what we're looking for. So here are some guiding words and questions to consider for yourself. The first is continuous learning. You want to see some element of continuous learning. And of course, you're already in school or you've graduated. So that's showing some element of curiosity. Some other things to consider is if you have a personal development practice, this could be playing instrument. Pardon me, it's been a long day. Uh, Perhaps you like to practice the flute, or you play chess, or you are someone who likes to speak different languages and you practice with friends and family. Um, you can challenge your own understanding of teaching and education, and that's pedagogy. So, are you challenging your own understanding of pedagogy? What are some ways that you can um, adjust your way of teaching to ensure that it's functional for you, but is also a good way for your pupils to learn and to practice what they learn as well? Um, are you aware of your strengths and weaknesses as an educator? Are you someone who's reflecting regularly on your growths and perhaps some things that you're very strong at and you like to share with others as well? The second element is STEM education and engagement. What is your understanding of STEM? Why, and what keeps you teaching STEM at this time? And how would you like to increase your student engagement in the STEM curriculum and pursue STEM interests? And that's a big one because we're aware that some people shy away from STEM because it's considered challenging. And I say that with bunny ears. So, how do you demystify the challenging concept behind STEM? Some people are particularly um, avoidant of maths. So, how do you make maths interesting? If you're someone who studies physics, I'm sure you've had students ask you, am I ever going to use this equation in real life? How do you answer those questions? How do you keep students engaged? How do you make it interesting, even for yourself if you've been teaching for year upon year? Uh, and then industry. This is the third element that we'd like to see incorporated in your response. Uh, are you aware of current STEM industry trends and research, especially if the trends and research is applicable to the host company that you're most interested in? And consider what you as teachers can bring to STEM industry as well. How can you thrive in industry? And how can industry relationships bolster your teaching? So, as an example, we have an intern, Connor, who went to APC this year, and he's a chemistry teacher teaching in second level. He's been um, he hasn't been able to use a lot of his practical skills uh, in industry once he graduated. So it was a nice opportunity to work in the lab once again, to be working with researchers. APC is a pretty young company, and um, it has its hands in many buckets when it comes to research and development. So he was able to really question people on what they're doing, what they'd like to see, how they like to see their programs and projects grow. There's plenty of crossover with other academic institutes as well. So it was a perfect opportunity for him to network. And he actually managed to get quite a few individuals to agree to speaking to his students as well. So those are the relationships that we're talking about. It could be a different relationship, but that's just an example of how your industry relationships can bolster your teaching and ultimately your students. Hey, do we have any questions about this? No. Okay. So, final thing is to get excited. So I already mentioned Connor McGrath here. We have Michael Sherlock. They went to Workday. They have a great video on YouTube that you can see that outlines his experience. Uh, Michael was one of two people who went to Workday, but they actually worked on different teams, so they didn't see each other pretty regularly. But they both had equally interesting experiences there. Carrie Liu was one of two people who went to Sanofi, and Sanofi is a fairly new company with us as well. Sanofi's a pharmaceutical company, and she also had a fantastic time working in the lab. Uh, Sean Ografa, they went to ESB, and their experience was very positive, and he actually managed to do field not field trips, but field projects with ESB as well. So it's an interesting element to consider depending on the host company that you're at. And Brona did a similar thing. She was working construction, she was on construction sites, she was actually doing construction work that was appropriate for her and at her education level, of course. So you can compare and contrast their videos. And Sinead went to Boston Scientific. She worked with one other individual. Oh gosh, I don't recall their name, but they were both at Boston Scientific. They again worked on separate teams, but they had a great time with Boston Scientific, and they worked on very different projects. Sinead was working on an environmental project, while her counterpart was working in a lab and in the research department of Boston Scientific. So if you're interested in learning more, you can visit each of their student pages, our student intern pages, and our YouTube channel as well. And I'll just give you an example here. This is what it looks like. All of our videos, um, even before 2024, are on this page. So you can take a look and see what's most interesting to you. And if you ever have any questions or concerns, a lot of them would be answered here. Um, and of course, you can also ask us, myself or Angela, if you have any questions about these internships and what to expect from certain companies as well. Okay, so we've reached the end of our workshop. Giving you a bit of time back, we have about 15 minutes. If you haven't already, I'm assuming you have, but if you haven't already, please go ahead and scan the QR code here so that you can register your interest in the program. And if you want to keep up with STInt, see what's coming up next, and perhaps take a look at some of our social media, I definitely suggest going to uh, X, or formerly known as Twitter, uh, LinkedIn, and we now have a TikTok. So if you're interested in that, you can certainly take a look. Okay, thank you everyone for coming. I'll stick around a bit if you have any additional questions or concerns. Nevertheless, I hope you have everything you need to submit a fantastic application.